4th and goal to go to the 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
Here is Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
Once again, no love for the New York Football Giants. A lot of it is kind of like, it's like, show me the money, right? Show me the wins, and then we'll show you the love, right? So the Giants, the ESPN blast the Giants and their lineup. I think the Giants, in their article here, they have them like the 27th, best lineup in all of football. I kind of, I really have a hard time believing that. You look at the Giants defense. Once again, on paper is one thing, doing it is something else, but the defense really should be pretty good. So, the 27th overall best lineup, come on, man. I have a hard time believing that. ESPN blasts the New York Giants roster ahead of the 2025 NFL season. The Giants may have injected excitement into their fan base this offseason, but their roster is still a long way from becoming a playoff contender. At least that's what the latest roster rankings by ESPN would suggest. The worldwide leader slotted the New York Giants roster as number 27 overall, which, as fans of Big Blue unfortunately have grown accustomed to, means that they're setting up to be one of the worst 5 teams in the NFL this season. Well, a lot of it also, quite possibly, which is not going to help, is our very difficult schedule we have. As for the team's biggest weakness, ESPN gave the dubious ground to the New York Giants offensive line. Well, it's true. It's show me the love, right? Show me the good offensive, which we have, which wasn't bad last season. The first 5 games of last season, we were 2-3. Should have been 3-2 if we actually had a kicker when we played against Washington in Washington. If we had a kicker, quite possibly we could have won that game. Those were the first 5-6 games when we had our offensive line was intact. Once Andrew Thomas got injured in week 6 against the Bengals, the wheels fell off the bus and everything was all downhill from there on. Giants are set to return all 5 starters from 2024, but that may not be a good thing. ESPN's Mike Clay wrote that left tackle Andrew Thomas is very good, but he has missed substantial game action in the recent seasons and doesn't have a ton of help. Well, the big thing with him, big question with him is, can he stay healthy? I remember he missed 18 games over the last 2 seasons. Last 2 seasons, 17 games. He could have played in a total of 34. He only played in 16. So he's missed more than half of the games over the past 2 seasons. Is this going to be a recurring theme for Andrew Thomas? Can he ever stay healthy ever again? I'll have to wait and see. But they said he doesn't have a ton of help. Left guard John Runyon, center John Michael Schmitz, right guard Greg Van Roten, and right tackle Jermaine Illuminor all posted below average to poor PFF grades and run block win rates last season, with all 3 interior linemen ranking bottom 20 in the latter stat among 92 qualified players. The draft provided minimal help, as 5th-round guard Marcus Bowe was the only offensive line investment. Unfortunately for the Giants, that offensive line will eventually be charged with blocking for first-round rookie quarterback Jackson Dart. Veteran Russell Wilson will begin the season as the starter, but at some point the reins will be handed to the former Ole Miss star. Perhaps it may be a good idea to wait a season, or at least until New York's O-line proves it's capable of at least league average pass protection. Well, the thing is that what's a little, or shall we say, very misleading, okay, once again, is that, talking about, how poor everything was, and But they were a functionable unit the first few weeks of the season, right? As I said, we were 2-3. If we actually had a kicker, right, and when we played against Washington, quite possibly we would have been 3-2. Once we got injured, once Andrew Thomas got injured, we were 2-3. Andrew Thomas got injured against Cincinnati, right? After 2-3, we won one game the whole rest of the season. Man, what a long season that was. Went from 2-3 to 3-14. Oh my God. But a lot of that also had to do with the offensive line. Once the offense, we got guys moving all over the place, guys playing out of position. Luminor went from right tackle to left tackle, right? Van Roten was a guard, then went to center. Yeah. Guys moving. John Runyon Jr., of course, he missed some time. Like the first time in his career, he missed any time. Of course, when he played with the Packers, he was always out. Well, not always out, but he played all the games. Comes here with the Giants and he gets injured. So, right? But we had 10 different starting offensive line units, right? Pretty much the whole rest of the season. From like we started at the first 6 games, right? I think we started the same 5 guys. Andrew Thomas got injured in week 6, and the season was over. So basically from week 7 to the end of the season, almost every week was a different starting offensive line unit. There's not many teams out there that can afford to do that and go on and win a Super Bowl. Not many times. Yeah. And you couple that up with the fact that the Giants had 4 different quarterbacks playing last season. Right? Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan, Daniel Jones, Boyle. Right? 4 different quarterbacks, 10 starting offensive line units, right? So they say in that article how the Giants, their biggest weakness is their offensive line. And I can, it's, show me the money and we'll start showing you some love and maybe the Giants will get a better ranking. Once again, it's just a ranking by somebody in ESPN, right? But, they do have a good point. The Giants do need to prove, over the course of a full season that their offensive lines might be fixed. But to be fair to the Giants, I said the first 5 or 6 games last year, they were playing, functionable football. And obviously, the longer an offensive line unit plays together, right, they get more and more comfortable with each other, the better they keep playing. Like I said, but once Andrew Thomas got injured, the wheels fell off the bus, and it was just, you go from, what do I say? You go from 2-3 to 3-14. You win one game the last 12 games, you win one football game. And the one thing was, the one was like toward the end of the season. And of course, what wound up making it even freaking worse was, the fact that we were trying to get a good draft pick, and we had the number 1 pick, and of course, then we had the number 1 pick, and what we wound up doing, right? Wound up winning a game against the Colts, and we didn't have the number 1 pick. So, be interesting to see though. We'll also be going also back to something like that as well too. It'll be very, very interesting to see, because you figure now Ward and Dart will always kind of be somewhat will always be, right, always kind of compared. Did the Giants actually win out? Will how successful will Ward be? How successful will Dart be? If Dart can be as successful as Ward, well, maybe the Giants maybe won out. Because the Giants not only got Abdul Carter, but we got Jackson Dart, right? That's where Tennessee just got Ward. So, but the Giants did not win that one game against the Colts. We got the number 1 pick. We get Ward, but we don't obviously we're not going to have Dart, whatever, but we wouldn't have Carter either. So the Giants got Carter and Dart in the first round. Tennessee just got Ward. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how Ward does. Hope he does good. Hope he does, because one thing we need in the NFL, we need good quarterback play. So hope he does good, but I hope Dart does even better.